Another week means another new batch of X-Men comics has been released, but I think that a lot of their thunder this week has been stolen by what, to me anyway, was the unexpected release of a trailer for the New Mutants movie, which I thought was a lost cause. I really thought they were going to keep this one buried in a vault, unreleased forever, but there's been some speculation that all the people that signed on for this, writer-director Josh Boone, actors Anya Taylor-Joy, Maisie Williams, etc., they would have in their contract, some item there that says, look, if we're going to make this movie, there has to be a theatrical release at some point. So they can't keep punting it anymore. It's finally coming out officially April 3rd, 2020. And like I said, there's that new trailer this week, which really has brought the hype back up to 100%, at least for me. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about this. I was getting progressively, well, I couldn't say more excited, but I was getting excited over the years, thinking about this lost X-Men movie that we maybe would never end up seeing, and now we're finally going to get the chance. And it looks like, in this trailer, there's a lot of special effects shots. So there was some speculation, too, that was part of the reason that it was just going to be buried, is they had done all these reshoots, and there was all this, post-production CGI stuff that still needed to be done, but was never going to get done. And it really looks like it's gotten done, so that's great. It's really interesting, too, to me, anyway, for this movie to come out now after being in the vault, being buried for 2 years, because, these are all young actors. So if you were really excited about stuff they were doing in 2016, 2017, I know for me, for example, in 2016, 2017, I wasn't thinking about Anya Taylor-Joy. But then this year, 2019, I saw the movie Thoroughbreds with her, and I became a fan of that actress. So now it's neat to have this other movie from the same time period that just hadn't been released yet. And I think that, a lot of the hype for this movie is for the scenes in this trailer featuring Magik, the character that Anya Taylor-Joy is playing. But, if you can't wait till April, you've waited this long, but if you can't wait a couple more months till April 3rd, and you still love the character, well, luckily that's what the comics were for, right? So this week we've got, I missed last week's reviews. That was X-Men 4 and Marauders 5. But this week, add on to the pile, Fallen Angels 5, which I thought was going to be coming out next week, but I guess we shipped it a little early. And then the stuff I was expecting this week, X-Force, Excalibur, and New Mutants. So like I was hinting at, if you can't wait for the New Mutants movie, at least there's New Mutants comics. And it's the same cast of characters, at least in this issue. Issue 5 is coming off of a couple of fill-in issues, which I never think is a great idea, especially this early in a run. And especially if the shipping schedule is already so rapid fire. You're putting out an issue, Marvel's putting out an issue of New Mutants every week or every other week, it seems like. You probably could have just held on to those inventory issues until you really needed them and just kept this outer space Shi'ar storyline going with issues 1, 2, 3 rather than issues 1, 2, 5. I mean, for people who aren't keeping up with the creative teams and the solicitations, that can be confusing and that can be really frustrating too. To pick up issue 2, it's got a cliffhanger, then pick up issue 3, it's completely unrelated. Be like, okay, benefit of the doubt, pick up issue 4, still unrelated to issue 2, but here we are, back issue 5, with who you all came to see. The original New Mutants, the New Mutants that are going to be in the movie. Cannonball, Magik, and really the star of this title, of this comic title, Roberto da Costa, Sunspot. He's really, his sort of vapid rich kid shtick, his inner monologue, is a lot of fun in these issues written by Jonathan Hickman. So, again, you can't wait for the movie. They got the comic right now. Some of the other comics that were out last week or this week, an interesting one, X-Men, absolutely the top tier, S tier of the X-Men comics, is the X-Men main series by writer Hickman and artist Lionel Francis Yu. This one is, you might call this a bottle issue. This is, the Autumn Council is invited to a World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. And, basically it turns into, an argument, an argument between the humans and the mutants, and will it come to violent actions? Well, not at the table, not at the actual negotiating table, but that's why you bring the Captain Commander and Gorgon, Cyclops and Gorgon with you, just in case the humans have their own SWAT team waiting to descend on the mutants. So Cyclops and Gorgon take care of them while there's sorts of veiled threats at the table from Apocalypse, Magneto, and Professor X. The funniest moment in this issue to me is, Magneto, he's quoting Huxley and he's talking about the humans really have no sense of their own impending doom, and every couple thousand years it seems like there's a new dark age for humanity. And why is that? Because they don't learn anything from history and they bring it on themselves, according to him. And he even brings up the example, this is what's funny. He's like, why was there that dark age period after the Bronze Age? And the humans are like, well, we don't know. And Apocalypse jumps in, he's like, well, it was me. And it's like, okay, if you want to make the point to the humans that they bring on their own destruction, don't bring to the table the mutant who is going to claim responsibility for subjugating mankind beneath his heel for thousands of years. So, point humans, or no points given at all. We'll say that. So another book that came out this week, also Fallen Angels. This one came out a little early. This is not the most popular of the new wave of X-Men books, but it continues to be, to me, sort of an interesting presentation of philosophy. Like, one of the interesting things in here, in this issue, number 5, is the recap of how Quanon, what most fans from the early 90s know of as like Psylocke's host body, the Asian Psylocke. She was raised by her mentor to eventually her training would be complete when she was willing to give the killing strike, the killing blow to her mentor. So that's, kind of twisted, violent stuff, or as violent as it can be in a T for Teen comic from Marvel. But it's interesting. And then there's some other bits in here too that are interesting, but also probably lifted from other sources. Like, there's a scene here where Mr. Sinister is going to put Quanon Psylocke into sort of a cyberspace to find the character Apoth. They've got an overclock device and they've removed it from the network so they can go in and find out what Apoth's plan is, more or less. And this is pretty heavily lifted. If you remember, I'm sure you do, the original Dark Horse presentation of Ghost in the Shell, those 8 issues. It's right from Ghost in the Shell, the Dark Horse issues, I think issue 6. Pretty much the same plot line where it's like, okay, we're disconnected from the network. You can dive into the cyber brain, but you got to be careful because they can attack you. If the network gets reconnected, that's it, and then you're in trouble. So kind of a Ghost in the Shell plot line. And, this issue here, Fallen Angels, and another one of the new X-Men books this week. I forget the other one that talks about this a lot. But the concept of purpose being this driving force, well, it's just, maybe it's Hugo Weaving's performance, but I cannot even hear the word purpose in this sort of genre fiction without thinking about Agent Smith in the Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. Purpose, Mr. Anderson. Purpose which defines us. Purpose which binds us. So, I'm not saying this is lifted from the Matrix, just using the concept of purpose, but I can't hear purpose without thinking about that, without thinking about Agent Smith. So what were the other books that came out this week? Well, X-Force continues on its gory path, continuing also with great colors by Dean White, enjoyable art and writing. But again, if you're not into the gore, X-Force is probably not the one for you. We still got sort of the side face scar of Domino. Like, this is another issue where Wolverine gets ripped in half. I say another issue because we've seen this happen to him before. If you remember the Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk crossover, that was the opening splash double page of like Hulk just ripping Wolverine in half. Well, anyway, he's ripped in half again here in X-Force number 5, but I'm sure he'll get better. And then last one, Excalibur. You got to give props to the Excalibur team for showing up for every issue. Marcus Toe on art, very impressively drawing all 5 issues so far at this rapid release schedule. And it's not necessarily my favorite book, but it is interesting. And there are some things in here, the plot continues to thick, as an old cover of Ben Edlund's The Tick might say. And in this issue, What did it remind me of, you ask? Well, it reminded me of Chris Claremont's follow-up to his original X-Men run, X-Men Forever, where Rogue ends up, I think, absorbing Nightcrawler's powers and becoming sort of a blue female Nightcrawler character. And, I just say it reminds me of that because in this issue again, Rogue becomes blue. You could probably guess whose powers she's absorbing then, but I'll tell you, it was Apocalypse. So that is pretty much my recap for all the new X-Men books that came out this week. If I had to say pick only one, if you could only get one to buy, it's got to be that main X-Men title. But if you're excited about New Mutants, maybe it's the New Mutants title. If you like sort of that dark philosophy, hey, maybe it's Fallen Angels. I mean, again, there's something to recommend in all these books, but I couldn't blame you if you weren't buying all 6. I mean, there's a lot to handle there. There's a lot of X-Men books. But anyway, that's it. If you liked the video, well, leave a comment. Please smash that like button. Smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hey, why not? Tap the bell for notifications. And if you're an artist, let me know what you're working on. And until next time, everyone, keep drawing.